Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another video. So today, I've got some interesting things to discuss with you. To be honest, we're going to start with liquidity as we do always, but then I'm going to get onto a bit of a thesis around gold, or at least a working thesis. I haven't come to the conclusion of it, and I want to literally just get it out there to you guys and discuss that with you. So, what's going on with liquidity on Bitcoin? We still have the 106k liquidity. Tomorrow's Fed rate cuts day is a 90% chance or a 92% chance that we do get the Fed rate cut. So don't need to go into that anymore. Every channel's dog are talking about Fed rate cuts. One thing I will show you on Bitcoin is if we zoom into the hourly and we just forget that this liquidity is there. So obviously the liquidity is there, but I just want to show you this because it is a bit interesting. If we zoom into the hourly, what we can see is the liquidity above us is significantly larger than that below, obviously, until we get to that 106k. And then all the way up here at 130k is really dense liquidity at 130. So a lot of people are calling for the top, and I don't think that the top is in. I've seen some great arguments for potential tops being in and price action potentially pushing up into this area. This area here, as you just look on your left, so this area, like the last area of liquidity really. And then this being the top. And I can see why that argument could be coming in, but I don't think we're anywhere near the top as of right now. That's my thesis. So I don't need to really touch on that anymore. And if we look at, let's look at XRP on the hourly as well. And then I'm going to just cover Doge on Velo, and then continue to my thesis on gold. Because I think the gold one's pretty important right now. XRP, as you can see, nothing has really changed. Liquidity above us is still the most strong, up at the 340-ish level. So I think it will take this at some point, probably sooner rather than later, and I'll touch maybe on some XRP ETH charts in a minute as well. So let's get rid of that now. There's liquidity touched on. Doge is one that's a little bit interesting. As you guys know, I've had a trade on Doge last few weeks. What I'm looking at here is I'm going to zoom in a bit more. It's open interest here on Doge, and this is the important one. Let's just move this up, and what we're going to do is make this pan a little bit wider. Just make these a bit smaller for now, just so we can see what I'm discussing here. That's not really worked that well, but okay. So open interest on Doge is this one here, and price action is top. Let's get rid of this line just so I can show you what I'm talking about. So even though price topped here, open interest continued higher. This continuation was met with positive premium, meaning they're probably more long positions than short coming in here. But as we got into the negative premium, meaning there's more shorts than longs in the market, we did continue down, and open interest actually only topped here, which is where the low had been put in. And premium in this time has continued to push down, and yes, open interest has continued to push down during this time as well. But what I would suggest here is that a lot of these people, even though that some of these will be longs closing, I reckon there's a lot of shorts that have come in this area because of that open interest spike being literally the highest position here, and then some potentially closing here. So maybe some shorts are closing, but I still think the majority of leverage in or at least leverage in Doge right now is short. At least on this short-term period from the high of 30 cents to where we are now at 26. So I do think that there could be a short squeeze to the upside here for Doge. Essentially, the point that I'm trying to draw there, and I would watch for that. I think that we're going to have some volatility coming in as we get to the FOMC tomorrow, potentially something like that structurally. Who knows? I'm not really trying to guess too much at what is going to happen over the next day or two. I've given my thesis on that a few times now. This is the interesting thing that I want to look at, and now this is going to look mental when I first show you it. So I'm going to take some drawings off to start with. We're just going to discuss this as a working thesis, as I said. This is the candlesticks are gold, and the drawing right now is Bitcoin dominance. So why is this important? Well, first off, this is the 2017 cycle. So we can't really go back any further than this, which I would have liked to have done. Obviously, Bitcoin was created in 2009, but there was not really a lot of, or maybe 2010, I can't remember exactly. There's not really a lot of historical data any further back than this. So we haven't got a lot of historical data to prove out this thesis, or at least to discuss. But I do want to discuss this. Bitcoin dominance in 2019 hit its top in September the 2nd, and then started to slowly bleed out. This is in the weekly time frame. And then gold hit its top on the 3rd of August 2020. And that was pretty much, well, Bitcoin dominance slightly like that, but Bitcoin dominance bottomed in a pullback as gold hit its top. And then Bitcoin dominance rallied, and as gold started to drop, and then Bitcoin dominance severely dropped, and then essentially tracked gold. And then again now, so we're going to zoom into that now time period. I'm going to just elongate these charts a bit. And then we've almost tracked gold-ish on Bitcoin dominance, and then gold recently has broken out, and Bitcoin dominance has dropped. Okay, so that's what we can see. So when gold topped, Bitcoin dominance had a drop, and then gold dropped, and Bitcoin dominance had a little spike, and then continued down. Now, whether we get the little spike in Bitcoin dominance again, I don't know. I'm not suggesting that we get that or not, but what I am suggesting is that gold could be painting a picture as to when crypto is going to move next. So I'm also going to overlay now actual Bitcoin price on this. So let's take Bitcoin price and let's just make sure it's not going to move around. So Bitcoin price was pretty much in a bear throughout this whole period. And then when Bitcoin really started to ramp up, Bitcoin dominance had done that drop and then it bounced again, and Bitcoin really started to ramp up from about $12,000 all the way to the $58,000 on this second retracement, after the Bitcoin dominance first bottom came in and after gold's high came in. So that would mean that potentially now, like Bitcoin price, let's just move it, so I'm not clicking the wrong thing. Let's just move it so you can see what I'm trying to say. The Bitcoin price could be waiting in a period like, goodness me, too many, I'm struggling. Bitcoin prices could be waiting in a period like this, or like this, maybe it's this sort of area here where we are before going on its parabolic rally, okay? Now, we can argue one more thing, is like that this was a stunted cycle, and my drawings will come back on, and maybe we could have just continued up like this and continued higher to this point had it not been a stunted cycle, and had we not seen things like FTX and the collapse of Luna, for example. But that's a different discussion. So I'm not arguing that price is going to reach the top at this point. I'm not arguing whether we're going to have a continuation, a bounce on Bitcoin dominance here specifically. What I am discussing is that gold, for God's sake, that gold coincided with, that gold high coincided with as Bitcoin's dominance started to lose strength. Gold dominance basically topped. And when Bitcoin dominance started to lose strength as gold topped. And when gold started to lose strength, and I've made different discussions in my news article, and we can discuss that as well in a different video, but on this video I want to just continue this discussion. When gold topped, Bitcoin dominance was losing strength, and then that's when we saw a parabolic rally a few weeks after the top of gold, okay? Even though, if you look closely, let's look closer, zoom in on this time period, even though what you can actually see is, let's keep this, as gold topped, Bitcoin price didn't really go any further down. Let's just see if we can really zoom in on here. That's gold, let's move Bitcoin up. Boom, I'll try and like overlay it. Look, Bitcoin price was at 11,000-ish as gold topped. And as you can see, does rally with gold. This is the discussion I've been making in the newsletter, is that gold bottoms first, then rallies, and then Bitcoin bottoms and rallies. And then Bitcoin went from like 11,000 down to like 10,000, so like a 10% loss. And then that was when Bitcoin really started to rip it when gold came to its high, okay? So that's what happened back in this cycle. Let's now shrink these down again. So it's because there's so many things overlaid, it's getting a bit difficult. And let's discuss now altcoins. So I hope you can see the thesis or the potential idea, obviously not finished, but potential idea that I'm drawing here. Let's add in Ethereum and let's also add in XRP. Now it gets obviously really messy here. But what you can also see is in this period, when gold topped, we saw that pull down, and then that's when Bitcoin dominance being red and purple being Bitcoin itself. This is when altcoins really started to rip it. I've put Bitcoin in too many times. Let's just put. I'm sure I pressed XRP. Yeah, XRP. Bang. Yeah, altcoins really started to rip it in 2021. XRP is in green, ETH is in purple. But what you can see is XRP actually. So again, from the lows, so gold topped here. ETH actually went with it a little bit, which you could almost say that ETH's done so far this cycle, and we're going to get into that in a second. Then ETH had a pullback. XRP rallied kind of with ETH, and then XRP went sideways, as did ETH. Then XRP really outperformed, and then XRP dumped. This was when the SEC lawsuit came in. And then XRP and ETH alike, and the rest of the altcoins basically rallied for their first high in May of 21. Okay, and that was the high for XRP that came in there in 2021. All right, and this is XRP's market cap, so it's just showing you by market cap. So if we take that to present time, gold rallied, Bitcoin dominance has dropped, ETH's rallied, XRP's rallied, ETH's had its little pullback, XRP's had its little pullback. Let's see if we can get Bitcoin down here as well. Bitcoin's had its little pullback. Gold is continuing, and if gold somehow or for some reason tops out soon, I'm not saying it will, I'm just saying, looking at previous cycles, when gold started to cool off, this was when crypto really went nuts. So there is a suggestion to say that, look, it's a possibility that gold's cool off could be in conjunction with Bitcoin dominance cooling off, and altcoins, including Bitcoin actually, or not altcoins, crypto generally, could rally. Where's my? Could rally, okay? And this is XRP that I'm showing you in green. Significant move. Where's ETH? ETH is here. No, that's gold. ETH is here. And then ETH really started to move at the same time. So what I'm saying is, are we seeing a parabolic rise in gold for then a cool off in gold and a continuation of crypto? And I want to throw one more spanner into the works here, okay? Let's go with a different hypothesis and a last little one here, and then we'll just finish off by looking at a bit of XRP ETH charts, because I know this is a bit of a weird video so far, but I just wanted to discuss this that I'm talking about here. Okay, let's throw one more spanner into the works. Excuse me. Maybe it's not the fact that gold cooled off that everything ripped. Maybe it's the lag. This is what I was kind of trying to discuss in my YouTube. Maybe it's the lag of gold to Bitcoin that made Bitcoin rip. Gold cooling off could have caused a pullback, potentially, because you can associate, and people are trying to associate Bitcoin as a digital gold, so risk off, but then people also then compare it to risk on being tech stocks. But as the DXY continues to weaken, and if it does, which was actually suggested today by Andreas Larsen on Real Vision's podcast, or yesterday, he thinks that the nations like the UK, Euro, etc., are going to have like a spike in growth because they've been in such negative periods that it makes sense for them to have a bit of a positive push, and then for the DXY to continue to cool off essentially against those currencies. The dollar to continue to cool off. Maybe it isn't the pullback that sparks the move. Maybe it's the move that then lags and then sparks the move in crypto. That's the other thought process that I'm having, and that's what I kind of tried to write about. Look, and we'll have these drawings put on, because what I basically said is, this is when, let's take all these off now apart from Bitcoin, just to show you this, what I was talking about in the newsletter. I hope you understand what I'm saying. It's been quite a hard one to explain. This is what I've written about in the newsletter is gold bottoms, and then maybe it's a lag for Bitcoin to bottom. Gold bottoms, and then a lag for Bitcoin to bottom. Gold bottoms, and then a lag for Bitcoin to bottom. Sorry, drawings back. Gold bottoms here, and then a lag, Bitcoin bottoms here. Gold bottoms here, and a lag, and Bitcoin potentially bottoms here. Which right now is looking pretty good, and then so gold bottoms, and then Bitcoin potentially is bottoming here. But maybe it's not about when gold pulls back, even though it looks like it could be that way. Maybe it's about when gold bottoms, and then the relationship of that to when Bitcoin bottoms. that's another suggestion. So essentially what I'm saying is there a correlation between gold and the markets, the crypto markets, and is the correlation inverse, as is being suggested, and I could make an argument for there, and I've shown you, or is it correlated, and Bitcoin moves with a lag of gold? So if gold's running up now, we lag the bottom by about 126 days. That's the average of all these lows to when Bitcoin's moved. And if it is, then the bottom should come in pretty much on the 15th, which was yesterday. So we should have potentially seen the bottom for Bitcoin. If that's the absolute average, obviously 196, 133, 112, and 63, the average comes out at 126. So I hope you understand that thought process. I feel like it was a really complicated one to explain. Basically, I'm just showing the correlation of when gold hits its bottom and then when Bitcoin hits its bottom. When gold hits its bottom and then when Bitcoin hits its bottom. And you can see that there's quite a significant lag. I'll show you each time period, look. So gold, let's just zoom in on this to make it even more clear, one sec. Let's get these really drawn up. Let's move to Bitcoin down. Doesn't have to be completely accurate, I'm just trying to show, probably easier with Bitcoin below. So watch my cursor, watch my line. So gold bottoms here, where does Bitcoin bottom? Potentially there. In the bear market, gold bottoms here, Bitcoin bottoms here. Again, so even here, gold bottoms here, Bitcoin bottoms here, 196 days. Gold bottom here, Bitcoin bottoms here, 140 days. And then in this period, let's say that's the bottom, or you could say this is the bottom, I don't know. You could say, look, gold bottoms here, has Bitcoin bottomed here, 112 days, or does it have a further bottom, 140 days-ish? And or, is this the gold bottom here with the Bitcoin bottom here, 140 days? So that's the suggestion that I'm making. Does the gold bottom correlate to a Bitcoin bottom? Or is the gold like push an inversely correlated push and then Bitcoin catches up and crypto in that sense? That's the discussion that I'm having, and I hope you can kind of see what I've written about there and what I'm trying to discuss. I'll finish this video, as I said, with a bit of XRP ETH, because I know we love to cover XRP on this channel, big XRP holders. XRP ETH invalidated my wave count because you can't have, let's just get it on the 4 hour. Cool, here we go. Because I had a wave count like this, and I'll show you why it's invalidated. So it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can't have wave 4 overlap wave 1. We shouldn't in Elliott wave theory. So that wave count was invalidated, but we're still seeing the structure of a low, a high, a higher low, higher high, potential higher low here. And if we can break out of this level and obviously set a higher high than this, then you could argue that the next high could come in above that 0.00071 level, and then for XRP to keep marching back to the upside. We're seeing nice volume today on this 4 hour, so it's something that I am watching, but we've got no confirmation yet. Don't get chopped out of the markets over the next few days. I really am up in the air with what I think happens in the short term, but after this short term, I do think we have a significant rally in crypto. And I've just shown another thesis there as to why gold could be correlated in a different way than most people are writing about, and I wrote about it in my newsletter on Saturday as well. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and share it with a friend. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments section. As I said, it's a working thesis. I wanted just to discuss what I've been looking at a bit today. If you want to trade in any leverage, I've got a link to MEXC and WEX in the description below. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. As always, nothing that I say is financial advice. Peace up. Down, as Crypto Insight UK would say.